Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Titans Season 1, which can be found on streaming on HBO Max. I'd seen a lot of videos, just like scenes and clips from it on YouTube here and there, and I've always been interested because I really liked the Teen Titans cartoon as a kid. Um, but I wasn't sure whether or not I was gonna like this because I don't really I like Marvel a lot. I haven't been a huge DC fanboy, especially some of their more recent stuff. But with all that said, let's talk about the pros. I really think they do a good job in the show of really fleshing out their characters in a short amount of time. There's only 11 episodes, and they're 45-minute episodes. Well, approximately 45-minute episodes. Um, but I really felt quite a bit of detail went into building each of these characters, and they have a lot of characters they're juggling all at once. And I do think that there's a little bit of like Beast Boy kind of gets sidelined a little bit. It's mostly focused on Dick Grayson, Rachel, who's Raven, and then Corey, who's Starfire. And those kind of are the three main ones. And then there's a little bit with Hawk and Dove. Um, and I thought they did a good job of, even with Beast Boy only having like a little bit of time to kind of shine, I thought they did a good job of really exploring these characters in a more dark superhero world and why they're doing what they're doing. Um, I really liked the characters of Rachel and Dick, especially. Uh, I felt like they just had a lot. I mean, they're the main characters, I would say, of this first season, and there's a lot going for them, and they've got a lot of time to kind of like develop and shine. Um, Trying to think of other really cool things. I think that there's a good amount of tension in a lot of the episodes with these people who are chasing Raven most of the season. Um, and everything that's kind of going on is they don't really let you there's no downtime. I would say there's a few little bits here and there, but enough where the tension is always constant, but not so much that I felt completely overwhelmed. And I think they did a good job of like setting up pieces for moving forward as well. So we've got like, a bunch of different like side characters, and I don't know who all the characters are because I'm not a big comic book reader. But from a writing standpoint, you can see that they're doing a good, like they're doing a lot of setup with like these background characters with each character's backstory that could potentially come back to be antagonists in the future. Um, I I'm trying to think if I really I mean like I liked that the mom, like them going to save the mom in the long term and stuff like that. Rachel's mom was interesting and good, and I think that her overall twist, which it wasn't really that big of a surprise, but I kind of liked it, um, because it sets up more conflict moving forward. Let's talk about a few critiques of the show, though. This show's super dark, and I don't necessarily mind that, but it's almost overly aggressively gruesome at some points, and don't. I think they do it more for a shock factor than they do it for actual storytelling reasons. Um, I just remember there's this line later on about Corey who's like, I think Dick says it of like, oh, she would never kill people. Well, she's killed people. And it's like, yeah, like all you guys have murdered quite a few people throughout this adventure. Um, I think that it plays into certain characters, especially with Rachel. I think like with her whole power set and backstory and stuff like that, I think the gruesomeness plays well to her powers, but I don't know that they're needed for everything all the time. Like it's almost just like a little too over dark for me. Which kind of takes away from, I feel like, a more like realistic storytelling aspect. Another big thing I had is I feel like if you're not going to actually do a scene with Batman and Robin, well, Dick Grayson, who's no longer technically Robin, I guess, in this show, like, do a full scene, like just cast someone to play Batman and commit, because I felt like they were like they wanted Batman in the show to be, part of Dick Grayson's backstory, which makes sense, and like they can mention him and stuff like that. That's not a problem, but like there's all these flashbacks and stuff like that, and he's always like they always are trying to cheat the camera shot so that he's not in it, or like you just see the back of him, you don't really see him. And I feel like I don't know, I'd have to go do some research on this, but I feel like they did it mostly because they wanted to connect it to the DCEU universe of like all the or DC cinema universe, and I kind of think that handicapped them in a way, because I don't want to spoil too much, but there's this towards the end of this season, I felt like there was a much needed scene that Dick Grayson needed to have with Batman. I think there needed to be like a fully dialogue out scene of them talking. And they kind of cheated themselves out of that. And I think they were it felt more like they were like pinned into a corner rather than not wanting, like, I think they wanted to tell the story that way, but they were pinned into a corner where they were probably told, no, you can't do that. So that was a big thing for me I didn't particularly like. And then I'm going to get into a little bit of spoiler territory. So if you don't want any spoilers, be sure to leave now. The last 2 episodes of this season, I believe the episode before the last one was the Dawn and Hawk one that really dives way into their backstory and stuff like that. And I felt like that episode was really out of place. I felt like it took away a lot of what was going on. We're building up this tension with Dick and Rachel and stuff like that, and kind of what's going on with the team forming. And then we're pulled out this whole episode, like 45 minutes of their flashback to how they like became a team. And I don't know if they're planning on incorporating them into the team in the long term, or one of the two of them, but I don't think that was the place in the season for that episode. I think the place in the season for that episode was like 2, maybe 3. You put most of that stuff there, because it kills the momentum. And then I didn't actually particularly like the last episode either. I thought, like, I get it that Robin's kind of, it's more about like Robin giving into his darkness and stuff like that. Like, I kind of got that message from just context, and then obviously at the end, he kind of gives it away. But again, it felt kind of like random and out of place. Because like we're thrown into it without any explanation of why. And I felt like there should have been like a little bit of an explainer. It just kind of felt like, okay, we're in some kind of weird alternate future where, Dick Grayson is married to Dawn and they have a kid, and okay, cool. Okay, where's this going? Like, it just I could see it better if they would have set it up, and it was not set up at all, and it was just like you as the viewer are expected to figure it out, and they kind of like I feel like it's mostly to be like a surprise at the end of like Dick gave into his inner darkness, but it's like it's okay. It didn't really make sense, and then the season ends right there. And I'm like, I know there's season 2, and I'm gonna watch that next. I wanted to get this recorded before I went and watched it, just so it was kind of fresh, and I didn't have that season 2 plot line in my head as I was talking about this. And I'm sure it'll help this a lot. But like the way that they ended season 1, if I was a viewer watching season 1, I would have been, and only season 1, I would have been really mad. Because they didn't conclude anything. And that isn't a season then. You don't have a full story arc. Like, you can have pieces, ties, things remain, but there's no like conclusion or resolution or anything at the end. It's just like it's setting up for another episode, which means that season 1 and season 2 probably should have been one season. Now, I'm okay because I'm really interested in Rachel's father's character. Just from what I've seen in the past, I really want to dig demons, and I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out because I like him as a villain. I think he's going to be interesting. But again, weird place to end season 1. So that's kind of one thing that's like, okay. Overall, though, if you like darker superhero things, I'd say give it a watch if you've got HBO Max. I don't know that I'd go out of my way to watch it. I actually had that moment when I actually had seen clips of it, and I was like, oh, I might be interested in checking that out. And then I think at the time I looked, it was only on like the DC streaming service, and it was like $15 a month. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm paying $15 a month to watch this show. But I got HBO Max recently by chance, basically. So, it was one thing. It's worth a watch if you've got it, and you like darker superhero type stuff like action and I would say a little bit of horror-esque. I wouldn't really say it's horror though. But yeah, if you don't like gruesome stuff, then yeah, this definitely is not the show for you. This show is very, very violent. So, I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. I appreciate everyone who watches these videos. Thank you very much. If you could leave a like, that'd be awesome. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and if you want to talk about it, as always, you can post comments down below. I love discussing with you, and I really like hearing other people's opinions and thoughts about this, and I'm interested to see what other people think about this show, because I'm leaning towards I like it, but like I feel like season 2 is really going to make or break what I think of this show. So that's going to be it for this one. So I will see everyone next time.